When we got married and we went to our honeymoon the next day, we decided for our honeymoon that it would be a disconnected honeymoon, meaning no computers, no cell phones, just being able to pour into each other, plan out what our family life would look like, what type of parents we want to be, what type of spouse we want to be, so really just pour into each other. And so, again, no phones, but at the time, Charlie's assistant gave Charlie a bat phone for emergencies, so there was only emergency phone numbers on this phone.
For years, people pictured Erika and Charlie Kirk's honeymoon as the picture-perfect beginning of a genuine and deeply committed conservative love story, until Charlie's own sister allegedly started pulling back the curtain on what was really happening behind the scenes. Because once people went back and actually examined the honeymoon story in detail, the specific details stopped sounding romantic and started sounding deeply and specifically uncomfortable. And now, a significant and growing number of viewers believe Charlie may have started recognizing something significant about Erika considerably earlier than anyone originally assumed, long before anything became publicly visible or officially acknowledged. Once people started connecting Erika's old stories, the visible family tension, and the things Mary allegedly began exposing in the period following Charlie's death, that honeymoon stopped reading like a sweet beginning and started reading like the precise moment Charlie Kirk first noticed that something wasn't adding up the way it was supposed to. And that reinterpretation has people completely locked in.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than go. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. So it goes twofold here. So if you're expecting to marry someone that I was blessed with, like a Charlie, you have to be the type of woman that will attract a Charlie. Are you going to church? Are you going to Bible study?
Was until I hosted the first Trump rally in Trump rally history right here in Arizona in 2015. I got a call from Miss Erika Kirk, Miss Arizona 2012. I just want to help, she said. So naturally, I put her right behind the president.
The reason people are treating this with genuine seriousness rather than dismissing it as online gossip is specific and important. The criticism surrounding Erika is no longer originating from anonymous social media accounts or random speculation pages with no credibility or access. It is allegedly coming from Charlie's own blood family, and that distinction changes the entire tone and weight of the conversation immediately. Internet rumors from strangers are one category of thing. Family members quietly and deliberately distancing themselves from the official narrative is an entirely different and considerably heavier category. Over the past several months, viewers paying close attention have noticed what appears to be a real and growing tension between Erika and the people who were closest to Charlie, particularly his sister Mary. According to online speculation that has been building with increasing specificity, Mary allegedly became deeply uncomfortable with the specific way Erika handled Charlie's image, his legacy, and the organizational direction following his death.
When we arrive, we go straight to the gym, because that's what we did, and I'm on one side of the gym, Charlie's on the other, and then all of a sudden, I was thinking he pulled out the bat phone. And I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna put on some music. He loved classic rock. I was like, maybe he's gonna put on some music. So I'm on the treadmill, he's over in the weights, and all of a sudden I hear Dr. Arn's voice coming from the side of the room. And so I walk over to him, and I was like, baby, what are you listening to? He goes, I know. He was like, I'm almost done. He's like, I have to finish just a few more lectures from Dr. Arn. I have a few more certificates I have to get from my online courses at Hillsdale. We're almost there. I can't skip him. I was like, baby, you do what you got to do.
And once people noticed that visible tension and began taking it seriously, they started going back through old clips and statements with significantly sharper and more skeptical eyes, particularly the honeymoon story that Erika has told publicly more than once. Erika once described to an audience how she and Charlie wanted a completely disconnected honeymoon. No social media, no outside noise, no distractions from the world they were stepping away from. Just the two of them focusing entirely on their new marriage and building their shared future together. She repeated this story while delivering a speech after receiving an honorary degree issued in Charlie's honor. At first pass, the story sounds exactly like what a devoted and traditional couple would want for the beginning of their life together. But then she added one specific detail that completely and immediately shifted the mood for a lot of people listening closely. According to Erika, Charlie still carried what she described as a bat phone for emergencies throughout the honeymoon.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September, and people are taking selfies with it.
I can't. I cannot. I am not capable of whatever that. When I saw this, I realized I do not know enough words. I had to consult a thesaurus, and I still could not land upon the correct adjective to describe how I felt when I saw that tent. People taking selfies under a recreation. I don't know if it's actually the tent. It looks like it's pretty old, or a tent that Charlie died under. That's what was happening at AmFest. Horrified. I was aghast. I don't think I ever described myself as aghast. I was aghast. It was ghastly to look at that and to realize that they made a conscious decision to allow that to happen. To what end?
And beyond that, Charlie apparently spent meaningful portions of the honeymoon listening to lectures connected to Larry Arnn and Hillsdale College courses, rather than being fully and completely present with his brand new wife. The audience laughed when she told it, reading it as an endearing and quirky newlywed story about a passionately driven man who couldn't fully switch off. But people online are not laughing anymore, and the reason they stopped is specific and pointed. Because once Charlie's sister allegedly began hinting that there were deeper and more serious issues operating behind the scenes of that marriage, and once viewers started asking why a man on his literal honeymoon already appeared mentally and emotionally checked out from the experience, the entire framing of that story shifted completely. People started treating it not as a charming quirk, but as the first publicly visible crack in a marriage that may have had foundational problems that neither party was acknowledging publicly. And the timing of Charlie's apparent distraction, right at the very beginning of the marriage, is precisely what makes it uncomfortable to sit with when placed, alongside everything else being discussed. Critics now believe Charlie may have started noticing contradictions in who Erika presented herself to be considerably earlier than anyone originally thought, particularly as older portions of Erika's documented past began resurfacing online and creating obvious and undeniable tension with the image she had carefully and consistently constructed for public consumption. For years, Erika promoted an identity built around discipline, modesty, and traditional conservative values, speaking publicly about avoiding certain lifestyles, warning women about the corrupting influence of modern culture, and positioning herself as someone who lived in a fundamentally different and more principled way before meeting Charlie. Then the internet went looking for receipts, and found them. Old reality TV clips surfaced. Archived social media posts came back into circulation. Relationships that people close to Erika claimed she denied or significantly downplayed suddenly became active and very public discussion across every platform. And once viewers lined everything up side by side, the issue stopped being whether Erika had a past that looked different from the image she promoted. The issue became why so much deliberate effort apparently went into erasing and rewriting that past in such a specific and thorough way. That specific question is where the conversation around image control really started building explosive and sustained momentum.
I have been called every single thing, and you know what? God is so good, you let it roll right off your back. And this is what's so beautiful about this moment, because if the internet wants to clip it, who cares? I love this woman. She's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord, and words are words, but I know her heart, and it doesn't even matter. And you say what you want to say because I know your heart. I will not judge that.
Sister. Thank you.
Critics pointed to deleted pages, disappearing online bios, old footage becoming increasingly difficult to locate, and stories that simply no longer matched previously documented timelines in ways that were too specific and too directional to attribute to simple memory variation. Then came the Romanian Angels controversy, where online users revisiting Erika's charity work in Romania found gaps in documentation, unexplained connections to figures who had become subjects of broader and more serious conversations, and missing details that didn't resolve cleanly under examination. None of the specific major allegations tied to those discussions has been established as proven fact. But once a significant number of people have already concluded that someone has been actively hiding portions of their real story, every unanswered question starts carrying weight that it wouldn't carry in a more trusting environment. According to the viewers who have been following this most closely, Charlie's sister Mary allegedly became one of the first people with genuine inside proximity to the family to quietly but visibly push back against the public narrative Erika was constructing and controlling.
Back in 2013, Erika Kirk, or rather Erika Frantzve, because that's her maiden name, was dating a basketball player named Joshua Harrelson. Joshua Harrelson's Twitter handle is @BigGeorge55. That is a crazy Twitter handle. Anyways, how do I know this? How do I know that they dated? Well, despite Erika deleting all of her old posts and pictures and privating her old accounts, many people commented underneath her posts, and those comments underneath her posts are still visible on Twitter. For example, this tweet from November 11th, 2013, @Erika Frantzve @BigGeorge55. It's the best when it's like that. Everything is just practice until the one.
That specific context is why the honeymoon story has taken on such significance in recent weeks. Because if Mary is allegedly beginning to expose cracks publicly now, the natural and unavoidable question is whether Charlie privately noticed those same cracks years earlier while the marriage was still operating behind closed doors. Reports and persistent rumors have also circulated claiming that Charlie's parents were connected in some capacity to leaked conversations and recordings that Erika allegedly never wanted reaching public awareness. If there's any truth to those specific claims, the implications are significant. It would suggest that people inside Charlie's own family may be actively and deliberately working to ensure the public sees Erika in a very different light than the one she has constructed and maintained. That possibility alone completely changed how viewers interpreted everything following Charlie's death, particularly Erika's increasingly visible and increasingly political public presence.
What I've learned the most in these past 3 months is that my husband, he deeply mattered on a multitude of levels, so much so that it proved even more once he was assassinated. How much of a peacemaker he was.
Because rather than stepping back from the spotlight during what would conventionally be understood as a period of grief and transition, Erika became progressively more visible, more public, and more politically active. And critics noticed that contrast between stated grief and observable behavior immediately and loudly. One of the most discussed and most divisive examples was the reported controversy surrounding the Amfest event, where reports spread that a recreation of the tent where Charlie was shot had allegedly been publicly displayed. The reaction online split sharply and immediately, some defending it as a meaningful tribute to his legacy, others describing it as crossing a line that should never have been crossed. And according to online speculation, Mary allegedly fell firmly and visibly into the second category.
Despite the devastating loss of Charlie Kirk, my incredible husband at UVU, Caleb has persisted with the same gift. Grit. It has been a long day. Trust me, you're not a grifter, honey. It's all good.
That specific moment is when the broader internet audience really started asking whether Erika and Charlie's actual family were even operating with the same understanding of what honoring his memory should look like. Because every new public appearance seemed to generate fresh questions rather than providing the clarity or reassurance that might settle things down. People began dissecting Erika's speeches and her physical presentation with extraordinary and sustained attention. One moment that got extensive discussion was during a TPUSA hosting appearance where she walked on stage radiating happiness and visible enthusiasm, which struck critics as tonally inconsistent with the grieving widow narrative, and then expressed open and enthusiastic admiration for Nicki Minaj, someone Charlie had publicly and explicitly criticized as a harmful cultural influence on young people. Charlie's sister Mary apparently took note of that specific moment and did not let it pass quietly. Even individual verbal slips during public appearances became overnight discussions on their own, including a moment where Erika appeared to describe Charlie's assassination as something she had expected, and another where she said grift instead of grit while publicly honoring his work and legacy. In any other context, these might be forgiven as simple nervous mistakes, but people are no longer viewing anything Erika does in any other context. Everything gets processed through the accumulated weight of everything that came before it.
I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old black girls. I don't think that songs that are talking about like glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly, I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it?
I think it was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And once the honeymoon story got pulled back into active discussion, viewers started treating it as the opening chapter of a much longer and considerably darker pattern. A husband already mentally distracted and checked out on the first days of his marriage. A wife carefully constructing and controlling the public narrative around their relationship. and a family quietly but increasingly deliberately creating distance in the background. That combination is what people cannot stop returning to and cannot stop discussing. Because if Charlie's own sister is allegedly stepping forward now, years after his death, to expose specific details and specific tensions, then the question people naturally arrive at is obvious and uncomfortable. What did Charlie himself notice privately while he was still alive and still able to act on what he was seeing? Did that honeymoon reveal dimensions of Erika that never made it into the public version of their story? Did Charlie realize at some point that the image being sold to his audience and to his community didn't fully match the reality he was privately experiencing? Or were the pressures surrounding both of them already creating cracks before the marriage had even properly begun? Nobody can answer those questions with certainty, and that is precisely why people keep coming back to them. The online community has been direct and pointed about it. One user wrote, "No tech on the honeymoon, but he does online courses. She tripped over her own story there." Another said bluntly, "The honorary degree situation is a transparent move." A third added, "Gym on the honeymoon? Lectures on the honeymoon. I am 65 years old, and this sounds less like a love story every time she opens her mouth." And then one comment that captured the darkest interpretation. "She got rid of him and took his job to run things her way. There was never any real love there." The more information keeps surfacing about Erika Kirk's history and behavior, the more that honeymoon story sounds like something other than a sweet beginning. And if it really was just an innocent and mildly funny newlywed moment about a driven man who loved learning, why does Charlie's own family allegedly keep circling back to the same uncomfortable questions about that specific period? What do you think? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and stay locked in because this story is nowhere near finished.